Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Broken Sword 3, The Sleeping Dragon. So last time we went 40 minutes instead of 30, and we're right here at the end of the game, I think. And so I imagine if it's like the first game, we may very quickly end up just ending, so we might go a little short here. We can walk in this water, which is an interesting turn of events, and it's the first reason why Nicole would be in shorts is this incredible flooding that's going all the way in the background and has flooded out this English area that was all road before. And all of our friends and people ended up going to the bar. And we can't go into Madame Zazi's.
I guess Madame Zazie had more warning than most about the evacuation.
And we, I guess, could go to the bar?
I never did get a chance to go to the pub. I wondered if I ever would. As much as I wanted to join Harry and my new English friends for a beer, I knew I had a job to do.
We've got to stop the Grandmaster, the original Grandmaster from the first game, which really only makes the story make less sense for the transition between two-dimensional animation and three-dimensional animation. The water running down the gutter here is actually kind of nicely animated. The rain actually looks kind of good for the age. Yeah, I keep throwing this game a lot of bones, saying, you know what? Considering how bad it looks in other places, and how old it is.
Lying on a beach somewhere, writing an epic poem about his encounter with the Grand Master.
Did Tristram ever meet the Grand Master? I guess no. But that was the joke, I think, is that he plagiarized poetry.
A razor wire blockade had been set up across the street. Looks as if the army secured the whole area, then gave up.
Even the army isn't going to be much help if the world's ending.
Well, there's a cheery thought.
Like, why would you put up razor wire?
There was no way through.
Are you trying to stop animals, tanks, troops? This area is now open for more block puzzles, isn't it? Thank you, game. Couldn't end this game without more block puzzles, could we? And they're so proud of this. Like, this is something that's good. And I guess during the day and age, this was probably sort of amazing. I guess the question becomes, where do we need to get to? Is it... Let's see, pull this back. The way these puzzles work, though, is that you can't ever gain or lose height. So... this here... and then up to this way, and then up and over this, and so I have to pull this back this way too, because I did this a little awkwardly. There was a different way I could have solved this that might have taken one fewer steps. But it really wouldn't have saved that much time. Yeah. Demake this game. Make it two-dimensional if you were going to remaster Broken Sword 3. And get rid of all the block puzzles, get rid of all the sneaking, put in some cutscenes for where all that stuff happens. I guess might be the real only way you could do that. Or you could just get rid of the guards. That would be a very acceptable way to solve the problem of sneaking around in a lot of areas, is just get rid of areas that are redundant and just remove guards from them so you don't have to sneak around. Or you could even keep the sneaking and it still wouldn't be too much of an issue, because in 2D you could still sneak as much as you could in 3D with some slight modifications. There is a decent amount of game in this, but only from the perspective that none, how would you say this? There isn't that many parts of the game that actually involve the same sections for a long period of time. There's about 5 1/5 of a game added together, but it's as if you took 5 pies with 5 different fillings, chopped them all up into slices, and then combined one slice of each pie together. That's not a whole pie. That's some monstrosity of a pie. Okay, I think I figured this out. For a second there, I thought I'd done something wrong. And they have us travel all these different areas when you could probably have told this entire story in just one location. Right. Now I believe I can push this crate that way without any more work. And I believe I can push this crate this way without any more work. And then I can just hop up, and then hop up, and then hop over this, and just push it over this way. And then hop up, and then we're gone.
Come on, Nico. It's a bit of a drop, but we can get over this way.
And hopefully that's the last box puzzle we ever do, but we just did a box puzzle before this section too. And here's Petra to kill us, as she promised. She has like a
George,
birthmark
you solved the
/
grandmaster.
tattoo.
I'll deal with this bitch.
Alright, cuss word.
Come to me. I am here, your servant.
There's been
God,
0
stop. This is madness.
cussing so far.
The dragon is upon us. I can see
And you're gonna throw
everything.
one in at the very
All of
end.
history, all creation, the future.
Unnecessary.
You're gonna kill us all.
With the power, I shall live
Could have called her
forever.
floozy. I'm not even listening to this as it's loading up. This animation that doesn't look much better.
Yes! Yes!
Oh, shit.
What's happening? No!
He got turned into a dragon. That's out of nowhere. And I end up in St. Stephen's tomb? No? I got magically teleported. I mean, this game has gone full magic. It's not even just like one magical item. It's like multiple magical items. The guy that just got turned into a dragon had magical power from the first game with the broken sword. And so now he's got more magical powers, and as a dragon, I assume, and now I'm kind of in this weird temple, and I think I'm gonna get Excalibur and pull it from the stone, which is just insane story writing. I don't want George Stobbart to be the new king of England, which is what whoever pulls the sword from the stone is supposed to be. He's not even from England. He's from Idaho. He said it multiple times. And most myths have that the Excalibur were taken by the Lady of the Lake or taken to Avalon or something.
Perhaps being a knight wasn't such a good career move after all.
And all these crystals, none of this is getting explained. It's just randomly getting added to a messy story. The story's getting messier and messier by the last few seconds. We have all of these items, and I'm still upset with Nico using the cuss word. She could have just said floozy. I mean, my point there is I really don't care if somebody cusses. I'm a grown man. I can understand cussing fine. My point is this game very possibly, even particularly when this game was made, could have gone from a rating of you could easily have made this like a teen or a PG game, maybe PG-13 for death, off-screen deaths, and maybe a little bit of violence, but this has been really, really tame. And then you're going to throw one cuss word in there that very well may put it up from a teen to an R. And I know I'm intermixing movie ratings with video game ratings, but a teen to a mature game. And this game does not need to be rated as a mature game, but that one cuss word might very well do it. And see, here we have basically Excalibur. Let's look at this and see what it is.
There was an impression in the stone plinth that held the sword. It was the same shape as the Key of Solomon.
So the Key of Solomon opens the sword.
A great two-handed sword protruded from a stone plinth. Suddenly, I was 10 years old again, caught up in the legend of King Arthur.
Can I take it? Nope. So you need
the sword remained wedged in the stone.
You need to use the Key of Solomon on it to
Touching
unlock it.
Had no effect.
Well, good thing I have the Key of Solomon. Which makes no sense again.
Whoa!
Because the Key of Solomon is supposedly from ancient biblical times, and Excalibur is from like hundreds of years past biblical times. The timeline doesn't make any sense at all.
Arise, Sir George.
He is arisen. And so he's even more dragon-y now. It's the end of the world. And I'm burnt immediately. So you can kind of see, I mean, you should definitely be able to see this is what that, like, this is what going to 3D did to a point-and-click adventure game. I don't even know if I can call this a point-and-click adventure game. It technically isn't, because he just burned Petra? I think he did. Like, there's actually no pointing and clicking other than pointing with your eyes and clicking on the controller. And see, there's no, like, So what am I supposed to do? Wait from the fire And then run. And you've really got to run here, so it's possible up to this point you wouldn't have actually used the run button at all. There was one section, I suppose. I should probably zigzag as much as possible back and forth. And see, apparently he's exhausted his breath. Maybe I convinced him to fire 3 different times. 1, 2, and 3. And that seemed to exhaust his breath. So see, I'm not really sure if the game is going easy on me now, or if it saved something there because I exhausted his breath. Let's see. Let's just run. Run this way. Use it. Load that animation. See, this looks like it was planned to be a movie or a cartoon that was cheaply made. Seems like that sword heats up when it touches dragon skin. Looks like the dragon's heart is poking out of his chest, by the way, too. And it turned him into crystal. Is that what all those other crystals were? Previous people who turned into dragons? Through the energy? I guess the good news is that nobody could ever do this again because they destroyed the armor early. At least, hopefully.
You know, after a show like that, you are going to be one major pain in the ass.
Nico! I thought you were dead.
Can you still not tell a wig from the real thing?
But I saw the dragon kill you.
Not me. Petra. She knocked me out. I've only just come round.
So, where did she go?
Looks like she just disappeared.
Huh?
What are you doing?
Watch. Oh. I thought...
A hand was going to come out of the water and catch the sword.
Yeah.
Get real, George.
The audio's a lot louder here.
It's over then.
Okay, so here you see kind of the perfect example of the death of point-and-click adventure games. For many, many years, they are coming back, and they always had a few niche games released here and there, but that PlayStation 1 era, PlayStation 2 era, 3D graphics pushed video game makers who would make games like this, or think about making games like this, into saying, no, we're not going to do that anymore. Look at that, there's only 2D animators, but like 6 other animators, and we've got this interesting music playing, considering how the rest of the game never played the music for longer than a couple minutes at all. So yeah, you can see Tristan's Lament and Love Us are the only two things. It's kind of a tradition now in the Broken Sword series for George and Nico to never really actually develop that romance that they're teasing at. And so they stayed with that. So here's the big thing, is you have this plastic wax animation party, and they let them do all the animations, and they shouldn't have. If they had instead just done the same game in 2D, that would have fixed a lot of my problems with the way it looks now. But on top of that, if they had stayed 2D, there wouldn't be these crazy block pushing puzzles, I don't think. There wouldn't be these hide and avoid things. Although all of those ideas are things that came about from things like Deus Ex, the original Deus Ex, or Thief, or what is the other one? Solid Snake games, Metal Gear Solid. Those were hugely influential, and their influence apparently became so heavy that they pushed Revolution Software from making what they had made before, which were pretty good point-and-click adventure games, and into making something very, very weird. That on a side, though, the story is pretty awful in this. It just gets turned into a mess. It's this attempt to rehash Broken Sword 1. And remember, I've covered Broken Sword 1 remastered, and that's a mess too, because in the remastering it, they made it worse too. At the very least, I will say that it was easier to get this to run, which is much older than Broken Sword 1 remastered, because the way they remastered Broken Sword 1 was not very good. Let's see. Copyright 1997, 2003, so you're talking 20 years ago, this game. NVIDIA heavily pushing the 3D. So this is the style of game that may have gotten money even from NVIDIA to say, go 3D, we can do 3D. And it's like, no, those early NVIDIA cards couldn't do it. In fact, arguably, even the modern NVIDIA cards still lack a few bits of power that I would like for them to have. Just even run at 1080p 60 solidly. And it's a lot harder to update a game like this and make it still look good. And so then you saw for a second the sword did sink down. Congratulations, you've completed. You've unlocked a number of special features. Do you want to save your current game? Sure. So let's look at the extra features. We have the concept art gallery. So here you have Nicole in a hat. Here you have Nicole in a different outfit. Here you can see far too revealing on that one. Here you can see, look at how fuzzy this is at 1080p. This is what the CD case would have been, the cover art for the CD case, and look how George is all blocky and muscular, and it's really, really low resolution. And again, Nicole is revealing too much there. Here you have the Key of Solomon, which would have been an interesting thing to get a better look at, but with the level of quality that they animated, they could animate at, it didn't really matter. The thing to think about, though, is all of these are 2D pictures, so if that's what she would have looked like in 2D, I probably would have picked Nicole like that. Not in that outfit, but I would have preferred for her to be 2D animated at that quality. Look at what this would have looked like in 2D instead of 3D, or this would have looked like in 2D and 3D, or this would have looked like, or this room, what room is this? It's just a concept, or that instead of the 3D, like with a little bit more polish. So you can clearly see they this puzzle was a big one that they planned to have at the beginning. Here they had Cesaro's office drawn at the beginning, and the mirror chamber where where we had to spin the little pylons. That was an initial puzzle. The dressing room concept. So here on the right there, you can see all the different things that they were going to put in this one room. Stick of grease paint, white prop face powder, brushes, lipstick, mascara, makeup pencils, gloves, let's see, newspaper, Kleenex, handkerchief, hair dryer, hair cutters, I think, hair dye, wig head, wig, and hair spray. So there's like 20 items that we saw most of those items in the game, even, that they were going to just put in this one room because they were thinking of a much smaller game. And it just got bigger and bigger. Chamber of the Sword, they planned for that to be a lot bigger. Chamber of the Sword geometry, they scaled it down. Templar HQ corridor elements, most of those showed up. This area was from the very beginning of the game shown, and it didn't play much part in the game at all. It's kind of pointless. Here's the church section. So here's the color key with muted tones in the theater. This is the underground part of the theater. Here's those bad guys that were working for Cesaro at the very beginning. It might as well have been Flap and Petra right then too. There was really no reason for it not to have been Flap and Petra. And then it would have been, they didn't need to hire extra voice actors to do extra animation. Who is this supposed to be? Oh, this is the voodoo lady that she had no business in the game, really. Ammon had no business in the game. I've totally forgotten about everybody at the tour. This looks like Spider-Man. I don't even know what this is supposed to be. I think it's the dragon dying. Yeah, he had no business in the game. Anubis certainly had no business in the game. The Grandmaster. I don't mind that the Grandmaster shows up at the end, but there's too many people. Adding a new pilot, I guess you kind of needed him. This is the guy that was murdered at the very beginning of the game. That's the dead knight that you see for exactly one scene. There's the dragon again. So not too many concept art galleries, and I don't know if it really have unlocked anything else. The one thing I would like to do, and I don't think we could do it though, is I'd love to go to 640 by 480 and compare what it would look like there. But that would, I mean, anybody can play with that, and sure, it's not going to look as bad when you're looking at a smaller screen. And in the old days when we didn't have LCD TVs or things like that, you would most definitely stretch out pixels, and it would look smoother than the way LCD screens stretch out this. What happens when we load here? Nothing. Okay. So it literally was a save file just to make sure you have the extra galleries locked in. And I'm not going to hit new game because that's going to be pointless. There's no second playthrough here. There would be no reason for it, really. And one of the things that's often possible in point-and-click adventure games, and you know is totally not possible here, is the idea that if you played the game before, you might be able to speed run through the game and skip major sections. Absolutely impossible in this. This is completely linear. It violates so much of being a point-and-click adventure game to be something different when there really wasn't something different it couldn't be. You don't get into a game like Uncharted or the Tomb Raider reboots until 15 to 20 years later. I mean, really. Because at that point, people had programmed in the ideas and concepts of running and gunning into all games. And so you can make a Tomb Raider reboot where you're running around shooting people and not really solving very many puzzles. And you can do things like Uncharted, where most of Uncharted is either action scenes or running and gunning. You can't do that with Broken Sword, because Broken Sword was supposed to be a little bit more logical and have a little bit more conversation pieces. I will say this trailer does a good job of not spoiling much, because you don't see a single scene in here except for in the first section. Except for the fact that it does spoil Petra is not Nico, but whatever. That's not too bad. But boy, does that animation look bad. So, it's not a big surprise to say, you can't even bring up the credits, by the way, if you wanted to look at them again. It's not a big surprise to say I'm not happy with Broken Sword 3. Most people, to my recollection, weren't very happy with Broken Sword 3. And when we get around to Broken Sword 4, I'm pretty sure it's back to 2D graphics and back to point-and-click adventuring. So it's just this weird side story, which isn't unheard of. This Myst, the Myst series, did a similar thing in Myst 4 by not even calling it Myst 4. Instead, they called it Uru and tried to make a massive MMO years before World of Warcraft made that a feasible game that you could actually make and make money off of. So this is kind of the dark middle chapter of the series, I guess you'd say, and hoping that it is better. I really wish, though, there was an easier way you could play Broken Sword 1 and 2 without playing the remasters, which I think hurt the game. But hopefully 4 and 5 are still worth playing. Maybe not. Maybe we'll play 4 and 5 and find out that none of the Broken Sword games are worth playing. Which is a possibility, certainly, but we'll have to find out. That's it for this series. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want to friend or follow me on basically any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.